Welcome to Timberline Bass Podcast, your place for Wisconsin bass fishing and everything outdoors.
Hey folks, welcome to another episode of the Timberline Bass Podcast. Tonight we're kind of going to do a special episode. Don't know how many people are aware, but we've got some pretty big things happening in the state of Wisconsin surrounding muskies. Um, Being primarily a bass angler, I'm kind of out of the loop, but a buddy of mine from our bass club brought it up and wanted to talk about it, and it sounded really interesting. So I'm going to bring on Dan Wilke here, and he's kind of going to go over what's going on in the state with the muskies. How's it going, Dan?
It's going. How are you?
Not too bad. Um, so it definitely sounds, after I heard from you, I didn't look into it a whole lot just because I kind of wanted to find out and have the discussion with you, the whole do it live thing. Um, but I did kind of pick the brains of some guys I know that are bigger into musky fishing, and this kind of sounds like it's pissing a lot of people off. So I'll let you get into it here.
Sounds good. So I don't know if anybody has heard, but the muskie season for Wisconsin in the northern zone has been changed from Memorial Weekend is typically when it was for the start of the season. It's now been changed to a general statewide when game fish would open. So meaning you can fish for them like this year would be May 2nd when it opened. So what does that necessarily mean? It means now you're fishing for muskies during the spawn. Some may think it's not that big of a deal. Some people, I know there's a lot of guides up north that have said that they're not going to fish for them because they're specifically spawning at that time. And I've got some data that I found that would kind of suggest that everybody should hold off on muskie fishing, and they're trying to change it back to get it back to the Memorial Day weekend opener. How it kind of got to be that way, it went through the Conservation Congress. They did the spring hearings and everything. Natural Resources Board had meetings on it. The overall votes when they do, I don't know if you've ever done the spring hearing votes at all, but
Yep.
the yays for it were roughly around 4,000. The nays were just under 1,500, and the no opinions were just over 2,000. So 2,000 people that didn't have an opinion on it if it should be open as a normal game fish opener. 3,800 did vote yes for it, which I think a lot of people are just, for a lack of a better term, uneducated as far as the muskie spawn. It's what it
Yeah.
really comes down to. A lot of the guides up north have said that they're not going to take clients out and fish for muskies due to the muskies spawning in the earlier parts of May through pretty much almost right up to Memorial Weekend. So, I mean, I don't know how much you've done up in the Hayward area specifically, but I know when I've been up there, I can usually still see muskies, especially on the deep clear lakes. They're still spawning even just shy of Memorial Weekend. Maybe like a week before, I've seen some swimming around. And granted, that was kind of a later ice out, but it's
Well, I don't mean to sound like an idiot. I've got a pretty good grasp on how bass, bluegills and all that spawn. And I've heard for years that muskies are incredibly vulnerable when they're spawning. Is it just the same concept of them, do they bed similar to bass and bluegills and stuff? Or how are they different?
so as far as difference, they're not like a bed style fish. They're considered a broadcast spawner, so kind of like a walleye.
Okay.
They'll swim
Okay.
side by side, and as they drop the eggs, the males will let out their milt, and that's pretty much how it all goes down. They'll sit in the shallows. They're pretty vulnerable because you can see them. Is ultimately what it comes down to. So
Okay.
especially in the super clear water, you'll be able to see them. I know I was fishing Round Lake a couple of years ago, and I looked down and I just saw a railroad tie, just an absolute giant muskie sitting down at the bottom in 14 feet of water. And I looked and I'm like, oh, that is a fish. Sure enough, there was another one that was right behind it, and they're kind of just cruising this flat, going up to the shallows. So I don't remember what time of year that was, but it was, I know they were spawning at that time. It's incredible at how long that they still will spawn into the year, especially up north in the deep clear lakes. The water temps just don't get warm enough fast enough for them to spawn right away. Because ultimately, I guess what I'm getting at.
Well, and I'm assuming they must be like bass to an extent where a female can spawn, throughout the spawning season, will produce more eggs and do it a few times throughout the spawning window, I guess.
Yeah, so
Or are they
they'll,
not like that?
to my understanding, they have obviously a set amount of eggs that they can spawn in that specific spawning season, and they'll drop them. They won't drop the whole batch all at once. They'll kind of broadcast. They'll stop, move to another area, broadcast, and just keep going. Um, it's not uncommon to necessarily see them with the same partner for an extended period of time doing this. Uh, but you can see more than one as well following a female as she's broadcasting her eggs. So you do kind of
Okay.
get a mix of other fish coming in. They do kind of, for lack of a better term, I guess, polyamorous.
Okay.
But
So now, are they more aggressive when they're spawning, and that's why they're in such danger, or is it like a fear of people snagging them, or a combination of the two?
so from specifically my experience, what I've noticed, spawning muskies just typically will not eat. It's more of if people are trying to catch one and they're kind of harassing the fish, in a,
Okay.
for again a lack of a better term, harassing them. Sometimes they'll either absorb the eggs, like walleyes will do if you have a really bad spring, or they'll just deposit the eggs and be done with it. Um, yeah, it's a lot of it's the harassment aspect that a lot of guides don't want to be. Spawning for them is hard enough, to put it that way, and then to add extra fishing pressure on it. They don't eat when they're spawning. They're focused on spawning, and that's it. So they just, I don't know if I've ever actually caught one that was spawning. I've caught them pre-spawn, accidentally fishing like Fox River into Pier or the Wisconsin
Okay.
River. I've caught them doing that, but sometimes that's where they get snagged too. But I think a lot of it's the harassment aspect of just spawning.
Well, and two, now with forward facing and everything, that just adds an even easier way to follow them around. And if people don't understand, like you said, the accidental harassment, they maybe don't even realize that they're chasing a fish that's trying to spawn, and you could very easily inadvertently screw that up for them.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I'm personally not going to fish for them. I mean, it is legal. So if somebody absolutely wants to, who am I to say that they can't? It's legal. But I went to school for fisheries at UWSP, University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point. Um, so I have a good background of just the fisheries world in general, of how things work. And um, I'll get into a little bit more about that too, because there's some other big things that's not just affecting muskies, but it's affecting walleyes, and I can't remember, I think pheasants as well. Um, but I'll get into that here in a little bit. I'll kind of leave that for, that's a whole nother topic too.
Okay. Well, I mean, the one thing to anybody listening here, like I said, I'm not big on muskies. Love catching them when I do, but I've never actively chased them. But I think most of us could agree. A lot of the issues we're facing now with fishing are, I hate to say, a lack of integrity on some anglers, because I don't think a lot of people necessarily do it on purpose. But like the self accountability is getting to be so important with the way regulations and stuff are, and to kind of put this in a way most of us men can understand. I wouldn't be too happy when I'm chasing my old lady around the house naked trying to get my spawning in. I mean, look at it that way with these fish, leave the poor bastards alone. They only get to do this 1 week a year, one little time a year, leave the poor bastards alone.
Exactly. Nobody would like to. I wouldn't want to be chased around. I just, I can tell you that right now.
But and unfortunately, I do feel like a lot of issues would take care of themselves if people had a better understanding of stuff. I've kind of said it before on here. It's no different than the guy that cuts you off or the person who runs over your line when you're fishing. 9 times out of 10, I just don't even think they comprehend they did something stupid.
Yep. And a lot of it, I think, is just for one, inexperience, just not putting the time in on the water to know what they're doing and understand the biological side of it, the biology of how they spawn, where they spawn, when they spawn. I think it's a lot of inexperience and lack of education. And I don't mean that in any degrading sense. I mean, there's things that I don't even know, and I went to school for fisheries. So, I mean, I'm still learning stuff every time I go out on the water. But to understand that harassing fish when they're spawning is directly and indirectly going to cause a decline in the reproduction of that specific fish. Doesn't mean necessarily the whole population, but it's like you said, you don't want somebody chasing you around. So it just makes it a lot harder for them. And I guess kind of getting into the topic that I was waiting, it's kind of a good transition. Stocking for muskies is kind of been, it's at this point, it's almost a necessity. A lot of the guys up north have said that they've seen a decline. It's harder to fish for these fish. They don't see as many fish as they once did. It's getting a lot harder. And I haven't done it in a couple of years. I spent every weekend up there fishing for muskies. That was my passion. And last year I got a couple outings in the fall, but usually from the time Memorial Weekend would hit, I'd give it a couple weeks after because they'd still be spawning. I would wait until maybe second week of June or third week of June and then hit it until the water temps got to the point where they're a little too warm to be fishing. They say 80 degrees is a cutoff, which is kind of a relative number. I don't like to fish for them if it's you're approaching it, even if you're just under 80 degrees. I like to stay away from them if I can between 75, 76 degrees and up. So, because delayed mortality is another big reason as to why you're not seeing as many fish.
Yeah, well, and that's one thing too is I don't care who you are. When you hook into a muskie, they're a freaking blast. You get this great big dinosaur of a fish coming out of the water. Like it's awesome. But not being, I don't have the right equipment in my boat to deal with a big muskie. I feel absolutely horrible every time I accidentally catch one because then you're fiddling around at the boat trying not to hurt it. I mean, anybody worth their snot understands how precious that fish is. And as big and burly as they are, unfortunately, they are very easily accidentally killed or maimed. And a lot of people don't have the education on that, but I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the decline in the population also, the like you said, mortality rate and stuff just from even improper handling or whatever.
Yeah, the delayed mortality thing, going back to that, it's significant. I mean, not every fish you catch and you release is going to die, but the warmer the water temps and the stress of the fish being in a net, the longer the handling, it all plays a factor into the possibility of delayed mortality. Now, just because they swim off and you don't see them die, obviously that's part of the delayed mortality. You think they're going to be fine, but if they've been fighting for a while or sat in the net for a while, chances go up. So the quicker you can get a fish back in the water, get the hooks out, and I could stand on a soapbox and talk about how you should have a hook cutters too if it's too deep in the mouth or something. But that's a whole nother thing too. Having proper gear for it, like you said, having a big enough net, having the right size pliers, even down to if you need to have a set of jaw spreaders to make it easier to get the hooks out. There's so many different things that people have gotten nowadays and invented to make it more efficient for the fish.
Yep. Yeah, and unfortunately, like I said, I never grew up targeting them. We just pick them up once in a while, and a lot of us never even think of that stuff until, oh shit, here we are again. Like, now how can I get this thing put back in the water without ruining its day?
Yeah, and I mentioned the stocking too with it. I mean, so you have harassment of fish during the spawn, which inevitably is causing a decline in natural reproduction. You've got your delayed mortality now. That everything is working against these fish. And believe it or not, they're not as hardy as everybody thinks. They think, oh, big fish, sharp teeth, lots of energy, just like a northern pike. It'll be fine. They're pretty delicate. Like I said, if you don't have them in the water almost all the time, the only time I have them really out of the water is put them on the bump board, take a picture, right back in the net. I don't try to handle them too much. It's as much as I can keep them in the water and keep them breathing as much fresh water as possible, I try to. But with everything working against them like that, you have to bring in some sort of recruitment into the population, which leads into the stocking. The stocking has been cut by 70%. Not just for muskies, but for muskies, walleyes, and pheasants. All of that has been cut to 70% less. So I think I saw, and don't quote me on this, but the number that I had heard was 17,000 muskies will be stocked this year. It used to be 54,000. Like
Do they stock them as fry or a little bit bigger?
They'll stock them as fingerlings. Their fingerling size is roughly, I think it's 9 to 15 inches or something like that. So they're fairly decent size when they stock them, but doesn't mean that they don't get predated upon by muskies
Right.
or even pike. But yeah, so with the decrease in stocking, like I said, not just muskies, but for walleyes too, it's making it increasingly harder for these fish to survive. It's not like a bluegill where you can have density dependent growth is technically the correct term. Everybody calls it stunted population, but the fisheries technological term was density dependent growth. The more fish you have, the smaller the population is going to, size structured population is going to be. So muskies are not that way. You're going to have maybe some bigger muskies, but you're not going to have nearly the numbers. Like your A1 lakes are going to really suffer because the natural reproduction isn't always there. It's a lot of the stocking. Pretty much every lake that you fish that has muskie in it at some point is going to need supplemental help with stocking. It's just what it's going to become with technology increases, delayed mortality, and if it stays at this rate of being able to fish during their spawn, I mean, you're not going to be able to. You can't justify it for the fish's sake to not have stocking. And there's been hatcheries that are closing. I don't know if you had heard about that. I believe the Brewer hatchery is closing. They I would have to do more research on it. I thought I saw that they needed 2.9 million to keep operations I don't know if it was for this year or if that was the next couple of years, but state of Wisconsin has shut that down. So they didn't get funding.
Wow.
They haven't closed yet, but as far as I know, but it will be shutting down sooner than anticipated, I'm sure.
And to me, the most disgusting thing in this whole, just on the musky side of things, even being a bass guy, when I think of Wisconsin, the Wisconsin fish is the freaking muskie. It does not get more Wisconsin than the muskie. I mean, look, the giant statue in Hayward. Why can't we find the funding for this, but we can piss away money on all this other stupid crap? And the amount of guys, how much money is in the muskie market in general every year?
Oh,
You know,
exactly. Just
the,
look at
the
tackle. I mean, you can buy a bait, one bait. I think a matlock or a headlock. I can't remember which one, but those go for $200 a pop. I think at the muskie shop
right.
it was 199.99. One of them was, and then I think another one's maybe 299 or something like that. I could be wrong, but I mean, just one bait is basically a halfway decent bass rod setup to put it in a comparison. And now you're
Yeah.
just throwing it out behind the boat trolling, and if you get it stuck on a log, well, I guess there goes a pretty much half of a car payment or a quarter of a car payment. I mean, it's ridiculous at how expensive these baits have gotten, but they work. I can't. I'm not gonna lie. They work. Muskies will eat anything. It's a fact that they're kind of opportunistic in an aspect that they will take a easy meal, but uh, and then this is a whole nother topic too that it's we'll get into the weeds on that one. Is muskies don't solely eat walleyes. There's been studies done, and predominantly they like soft rayed fish, so like your ciscos, suckers, anything that doesn't have dorsal spines or anything like that. Not to say that they won't eat a
Yeah.
walleye, but 95% of their diet consists of soft rayed fish. So they found I can't remember how many fish they did. It was one study that they when I was going through school they had. It was 95% soft rayed, and then 5% of it was walleyes. So
Oh,
the muskies eat all my walleyes is I laugh at that one every time I hear it because it's not true. Whoever came up with that, I mean, if they would have patented that phrase, copyrighted, whatever, they would have made millions on that because it's been repeated so much, but it's
yeah.
just not true.
Well, and that's the thing too. There's a lot of ribbing that goes on between bass guys and musky guys and stuff. How many times have we had a club tournament and there's been a musky tournament going on at the same time, and you end up a cast length away from each other, giving each other shit all day. But I don't know a single bass angler that doesn't have the utmost respect for muskies, the industry as a whole, the anglers behind it. I mean, most of us realize the money that they've got tied into this and what it does for economies. I mean, I would be curious to see the numbers, how much of the Hayward economy relies on muskie fishing between people coming up there, the guide services, just having the fish there. I mean, that is a big part of that whole
Oh yeah,
local economy.
yeah, it's a big thing, and I mean, Hayward's the muskie capital of the world. I mean,
Yeah.
I started muskie fishing when I was in college. I was up at Tree Haven for some summer field experience for 6 weeks. So I was in the Tomahawk area, and it was a buddy of mine had said he was going to go muskie fishing. I'm like, why? Why would you do that? I mean, it's a fish of 10,000 casts. That's stupid. I was one of those guys that I thought, I'm not going to spend $20-$30 on a bait. I'm not going to do that. And back then, that was expensive. I'm not
Right.
going to do that. And so I was the only one that had a boat up there at the time. And so my buddy's like, can we take out your boat? I'm like, Sure, man, whatever. I don't care. I'll bass fish. You can musky fish. So we're going around a lake, Hancock Lake, if I remember correctly. And he caught a muskie, and I instantly just watching him, because it was in a figure eight too. I was just amazed. I'm like, this is cool. I got it. So that very next weekend, I went to the St. Croix rod shop, and I picked up uh, a muskie rod, reel, 3 baits, and got the reel all spooled up. Then we went to, I can't remember if I actually had St. Croix put line on it or not. I don't remember. I think we stopped at the muskie shop on the way back, and I bought the rod at St. Croix, and then we went over to the muskie shop, and I got the reel, line, and lures and stuff. And quite honestly, you don't need a whole plethora of lures. You just need like 4 or 5 different types and maybe 1 or 2 different colors, and you can catch pretty much any muskie anywhere in the state of Wisconsin. The market is so flooded with baits now, it's ridiculous. But
Well, I'm sure
that's
it's the same way we overcomplicate the bass fishing.
oh yeah.
There's all this extra crap, and you don't need 3/4 of it.
Yep. That's exactly it. I've always said that 90% of the baits out there are to catch the fisherman, not the fish.
Yeah. The
That's
sad
just what
thing
I've
is,
always.
I remember years ago laughing, looking at the prices on musky baits and thinking them guys were nuts. And then, here we are years later, and, I got a couple clutches, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I kind of get it. It doesn't take much to spend that kind of money and to con somebody into doing it.
Yep. Yeah. So I bought all that stuff. We went out in the boat, and that the very first day going out with my stuff, I caught my first muskie. It was oh god, it's the same as my wife's 32-inch muskie. Caught it, and I've been hooked ever since. I cannot. I have to fish for them at least once a year. If I don't, I go nuts.
Yeah.
They're
Well, and
hands
they're one
down
of
my
them
favorite.
fish too. Right. I'll never my very first muskie I caught fishing a tournament with the Marshfield Club fishing with Gene Parker. I caught it out in the middle of nowhere on a Pose crankbait. I mean, that memory is ingrained in my mind forever. Just last or 2 years ago, I caught my first tiger muskie on Nokomis. That was the coolest thing ever. I got it up and I'm like, oh crap, it's a pike. You get it up and like, oh no, this is kind of neat, you know?
Yeah, the tigers especially are so pretty. I mean, the striping on them is, to me, not matched by any other fish. I caught a
Absolutely.
this past year I caught just shy of 40. That would be my one and only tiger muskie that I've ever caught, and it was just shy of 40. Typically in the Northwoods, like you don't really see them much bigger than that, but it occasionally you'll have somebody throughout the year in the Hayward area that's caught, say, a 42, 44, maybe even a 46-inch tiger muskie, but they just don't get as big as a normal muskie. But
Because that is a cross between a regular muskie and a pike, correct?
yep, I think it's a female pike with a male muskie, or excuse me, a female muskie with a male pike. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's what it is.
Because I mean, it's pretty rare for that to happen, correct? I know, like I said, I'm not big in the muskie world, but when you catch one, it's a special thing. Like you said, they're freaking beautiful, and you don't see them very often.
Yeah, they don't occur very often. I mean, most lakes don't, like there was one lake that a friend and I had fished, and he caught a tiger muskie. A super dead flat calm day. It was, you look at it, bluebird skies, hot, muggy. It just doesn't feel like you're going to catch anything. Water was completely glass, and all of a sudden the water just erupted. And that was the only fish we caught all day, and it was a tiger muskie. And we looked at the survey that DNR had done, and originally it said that lake had no natural reproduction. And so you get to thinking about it, I mean, they don't stock tiger muskies. So it had to have been natural reproduction in that system for that to occur. And it's not a big system. There's just not much spawning habitat, I guess, in that lake for them. So there are pike in there. There's plenty of pike. And that's a whole nother thing too. I mean, look at the chippewa flowage with their pike regulation. I mean, they're trying to get rid of pike for specifically competing with muskies for forage and everything. So chippewa flowage has 10 pike you can keep for your daily bag at no size limit. That's increased from what it used to be as 5.
Okay.
So they're trying to help out the muskies in that way too, of keeping any of the pike that. I mean, I love pickled pike. I'll keep my limit of pike if I manage to catch them, and I usually only keep the smaller ones, anything from 20 to 25 inches. I usually try to let anything that looks like a healthier fish, like a 28 to 30. I'll usually let go anything that size and bigger, because I feel like they've kind of earned it at that point. But they're a good sized fish, and you want to keep those genetics around, just like how you want to keep a 5-pound bass around, or 20 plus inch walleye. Just anything you can kind of do to keep the genetics to what you want is ideal.
Yeah. Well, and as much as I hate pike when they're stealing my jigs and all that good stuff, I mean, to this day, I still enjoy the crap out of it when I hook up on one. They're a fun fish, but there are definitely a lot of lakes around here where they could use some culling. Uh, But I wonder how many people aren't just scared of taking them, just because you have to be so careful when you fillet them out, unless you're going to pickle or can them.
Yep. And that's, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I've gotten lazy in my somewhat old age. I typically only keep them and pickle them. I have kept them and filleted them out, gotten the Y bones out, but to me, it's not worth my time to go through and cut the Y bones out. I mean, they taste phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. You put, and this will probably be a controversial comment, but I think it tastes almost as good as walleye, if not maybe even better if cooked right. And I'm sure I would probably get some hate on that from some people saying that's I'm committing a sin by saying that, but I mean I think it's right up there. If you cook it right, there's no reason to not eat them.
Well, that's been like a staple in my family, 3 generations. We always can them, leave all the bones and everything in, can them, and crush them up with some freaking crackers and fry them up in patties. We always called it salmon patties as a kid, and to this day, my kids absolutely get pissed at me when I throw a pike back because they want to put it in a jar and eat it later. Like, but I normally only do that once or twice a year.
Yeah, I mean, God, I can't remember. I was going through pickled pike so fast. I'd bring home a limit, and by the time it was ready to eat, I think I had it gone in just a couple days. I loved it so much. Kind of got sick of it now. I've got a couple jars that are just kind of sitting in the fridge that I haven't been able to choke down yet. We actually just finished one off the other day that was in the fridge. So I'll probably be good for another couple weeks before I crack another one open.
Yeah. But that's the thing, though, too. You see it in a lot of people. There is such a respect for the resource, not overfishing, not overtaking on the bag limits and stuff like that. And I think that's the biggest thing. If people could get across, the regulations wouldn't be as big of a deal if people just held themselves accountable.
Yeah, I agree. And I know that there's been issues in the past in Wisconsin that the DNR has essentially caught poachers and kind of gotten everything handled on that front. But that's only a small percentage of the population that's doing it, and
Yes.
that's also, like I said, I was in fisheries for a little while. Um, I love the resource dearly. No matter what I can do to help it out, I try. And I've ice fishing. I've caught a walleye in 25 feet of water, and it would go belly up trying to release it. I mean, I would sit for a half hour holding that fish in the hole, trying to get it so it would acclimate to the pressure difference, and then it'd finally swim away. I mean, that's just the type of person I am. Do whatever I
Yeah.
can to, even if it's just one fish, try to keep it alive. So seeing this whole muskie thing come up, and I've been monitoring it pretty close. They had a vote back in April. I want to say it was April 13th that the whole northern half of the state took another vote on if they should put it back to Memorial Weekend. And from everything that I have heard, and we had some pretty bad storms that day, that it was a Monday. I wanted to go and vote on it, and I just I couldn't because the weather was so bad. We ended up having a couple tornado warnings come through Marshfield, so and I would have to go to
Yeah.
Mosinee for that. So I felt bad that I didn't get to vote on that, and you couldn't do it online, as far as I know. You had to do it in person fashion. So,
Oh, okay.
um, kind of a name drop. I know Pete Mano is doing a lot with that. I don't know, can't remember if he was actually organizing of how to get out and vote for it, or if he even somehow got the vote to be set up. I'm not sure on how that was all taken care of, but I know all the North Wisconsin fishing guides, especially in the Hayward area for muskies, were very adamant that they were not going to fish for these fish during this time. And any clients that came through, they were going to say, look, with all due respect, we're doing this for the benefit of the fisheries. I know it's not exactly what you want to hear, but well, I'll take you fishing. It's not going to be for muskies.
Right.
So, and I fully respect that. I mean, those are guys that make their living off of these fish. And I know that I've always wanted to do something in the fisheries world, whether it was work with the DNR to, um, whether it be stocking or as a guide. They have pit tag readers. They tag muskies all the time and be able to use a pit tag and say, hey, this fish was caught if it had a pit tag, and be able to relay that to the DNR through in like an angler creel survey, essentially. Um, I've always wanted to do something like that. I haven't found a way to incorporate that with what I do. And obviously, you know how it is. Work and life get in the way that you can't find time. I would love
Right.
to guide or do something of that nature, but if there was a way I could do it, make it work in a heartbeat, I would be up at the cabin, living up there, guiding my heart away.
Yeah. Oh,
But
I feel you there. And unfortunately, it's even that's getting to the point between regulations and insurance costs and the fact that any idiot will sue you for any little thing nowadays. It makes it such a daunting proposition to even start guiding. Because I've spent years looking into it too. I would absolutely love to do it, but I'm scared to tell people they can keep fish. If I clean them and miss a bone and they choke, well, I'm getting sued for that. Somebody grabs a fish and takes a hook bat or something, well, I'm getting sued for that. I mean, God forbid you bring peanut butter sandwiches along and somebody has a reaction to peanuts, you're getting freaking sued. Like it's unfortunately it's a sad state of the world on top of everything else, but
yeah,
I feel
that's
yeah.
exactly it. You're at so much of a liability. No matter what you do, there's always going to be a repercussion somewhere, some way down the line. And it's unfortunate, but that's just the world we live in nowadays.
Yeah. Even not even if a guy could make a living doing it, but just the opportunity to share the sport we love with people that might not get the opportunity. I love taking people that don't fish in my boat, the look on their face the first time they set the hook and get one up. Like, that's the shit I live for. But you hate to take a risk on it.
Yeah, I love taking kids fishing as much as I can. I mean, being able to see the just sheer excitement on their face, the joy of getting a fish in the net and then being able to take a picture with it and let it go. I I can't tell you how many kids I've taken fishing in the last handful of years that I take them once and they're like, "When can we go again?" I'm like, as soon as I can get off of work, let's go.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. Well, did you have anything else you wanted to go over on this at all, Dan?
I don't think so. I mean, I kind of covered pretty much everything that I had notes on that I wanted to make sure that I covered. Um, Basically, I mean, just to recap, they're still working on trying to get it changed back. I didn't bring this up, and this is kind of handy information too. The regulation isn't going to change overnight either. It's going to take a couple of years. The estimated date of when they're thinking it'll change is 2029 or 2030. So it's going to be. This isn't just a this year thing. This is foreseeable future, a 5-year plan type thing. So the most that you can do for these fish is just to try and avoid harassing them during their spawn because it's already hard enough for them to spawn. And on top of the delayed mortality, fishermen, as much as I kind of disbelieve the phrase that, you know, we're getting smarter, we kind of are with technology. um,
Yeah.
I've always said that, us fishermen, we are dumb. When it comes to fish, we have our specific thoughts on what they do, and 99.9% of the time, if you're a musky fisherman, you're wrong. You can think that you know what they're doing. I mean, I've seen so many things like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna catch them today," and it's just got a picture of a muskie, and it's like, "Yeah, screw you." Like it's that's really their mentality. Muskies are just an fu fish. When you think you have them figured out, think again. It's always a different day.
Well, and I will say that is the one thing I absolutely love about catching muskies. They are the only fish when you get that thing up to the water and you look that bastard dead in the eyes, that thing is looking right. I mean, it sees you. It knows what's going on. You look at a bass when you catch them and they just got that dumbass look on their face like, "Okay, we're here. What's next?" Muskies, you do not get that vibe at all.
They are all business up front. There is no partying back with them either. It's even just laying them on a bump board is a chore. I mean, especially with a big one. You get a 44, 45. You go to gently set it down on the board. The second it touches that bump board, it is a rodeo. You're trying to wrangle that sun gun. Let me tell you, it's an interesting time. If there's somebody out there that can wrangle a muskie on a bump board and get a measurement within the first 2 to 3 seconds consistently, I got a prize for you because I can't do it, and I've been fishing for them for a while. I'm not going to say I'm an expert. I'm not going to say I'm fantastic at it. I I will say that I'm pretty decent. I do make my own musky baits, so that's one of the big things that I like to do. I like to make random baits and stuff. I've got plenty of molds for soft plastics for bass. Um, I got the musky bait stuff. I started getting into some lead jigs, like some Ned heads, tube jigs. I've got some swim jigs that I've made up. Um, I'm one of those guys that if it has anything to do with fishing, I'm there. I will, if I can make my own lures, you bet I'll buy it.
Yeah.
I have that wrong mentality of, oh well, I'll save some money doing it, but I'll spend 2 3 grand in getting molds just to save money on a 5-pack of baits. But you know,
The
whatever.
hardest part is finding the time. When I got into painting the hard baits, I absolutely love doing it, but I get so deep into the weeds doing it. I go down, oh, I'm just going to paint a couple, and then 5 hours later go by. I should have been in bed 2 hours ago. I can't let myself do it, or I won't do anything else.
Yeah, I know when I got into making musky baits, that was the first thing that I got into. Just making bucktails, and the first couple of them were rough. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, they worked. Don't get me wrong, they worked. But over the years, I've kind of, I don't want to say perfected it, but I've gotten it to where I like them, and apparently the fish do. I mean, I uh, I have a witness for this, so I'm not lying on it. But there has been a time where I've seen 43 muskies in one day, whether they followed
Oh,
or we caught I think 15 of those 43. Not a great percentage, but a lot of them were boat shy. They get right to the boat into the figure eight and disappear immediately. So, and that's even taken into account too of, we just had one follow up, and which direction did it swim off in, and was it the same size? Like the 43, we were pretty dead set on that those were different fish each time that we saw them or caught them.
ah,
So it's, I don't want to toot my own horn, but to see 43 muskies in one day is pretty
that's
phenomenal. And
impressive.
I did that on some of my own bucktails. So I know I've been trying to kind of push them out there. I've got a Facebook page, Dan Wilke Custom Baits, that if anybody wants to look it up, feel free to give me a like. I do post now that I have a kid. It makes it a lot harder, life getting in the way. But I do try to post some of the baits that I've made over the past. I think I created it last summer. So if anybody wants anything specifically, any custom colors or whatever, just feel free to message me on there. Sometimes I get notifications on my phone. Sometimes I don't. My phone's weird that way. But I'll get back to you as soon as I can with it. But I know I've started to get into the soft plastics a lot more after the musky bait making stuff. And the Tiger Cat tournament that we had last year, all those fish that I had caught and won the tournament on, those were all my own homemade baits. So they work. And it's a lot easier than people think to make your own stuff too. But it's hard part is spending that money to get the materials to do it.
And I'm sure learning the consistency on being able to reproduce the same colors and all that stuff too is a bit of a learning curve, because I know I struggle with that with painting.
Yeah, so green pumpkin. You'd think it'd be pretty straightforward to make a green pumpkin bait. You just put in some green pumpkin. They make a green pumpkin color. Like they make it, but you have to make sure that you put in the correct amount of drops. Otherwise, it's either too dark or it's too light and it's somewhat transparent. So it's kind of a fine line that you can be within 2 to 3 drops, but if you don't have enough, obviously it's going to be transparent. It makes it hard. A lot of people will keep like journals of specific colors of how to make, like Morning Dawn is one that I see on a lot of Facebook pages that I follow, that they have issues with trying to duplicate certain bait making brands. I'm trying to think of one. I think Yum makes kind of a Yum Dinger Morning Dawn color in the Yum Dingers. That one's a pretty decent one, but a lot of people, especially Zoom makes a good one too that I like for, I think they make it in the Trick Worm and some of the U-tails, I think they did as well at one point. A lot of guys like that Morning Dawn color, and they're trying to duplicate it, but nobody can get it exactly right. There's a lot of guys that are really, really close, but without actually knowing the specific formula. Like I've tried to make some of the Rage swimmers, the IU color. I've gotten really close on some of that. Um, Trying to think some of the other ones that June bug is another one that a lot of guys I see are posting of how to make a June bug color, and that can be pretty hard too. So
I could see
just
that.
just keeping a journal of all these specific, um, if you get a color that you really like and you're catching fish on, if you write it down when you do it and then you go out use it, come back, at least you have that recipe then for however much
Yeah.
cup of plastic versus how many drops that you put in, and then how many cups of glitter or flake that you put in. I mean, the possibilities are endless. You've got glow powders, you've got pearl powders, uh, lumina powders. I mean, it's more than just plastic and glitter and coloring. You feel like a chef and an artist all in the same go. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and now too with forward facing sonar and stuff too, there's definitely room for guys to play with adding some denser materials to go with that too, I'm sure. I know I play a little bit with adding stuff to paint sometimes to make it pop a little more on the live scope. But
Yeah, you can do a lot of stuff with plastics. It's pretty incredible at what you can do, especially with technology now. I mean, Berkeley's coming out with their um, is it the lab series or whatever? That's the scent, which that's cool.
yeah,
I'm curious to see how they did that because I'm assuming it's just like a coating that they've dipped the plastic once they poured it in because it's like a slime when it hits the water, it disperses in the
yeah,
water. Which I'm I'm getting to be more of the type of guy to believe that scent does make a difference. I never used to, but there are certain aspects that you look back and you're like, okay, so I caught more fish because it was a garlic scented bait or an anise scented bait, craw scented bait, anything like that versus just a regular plastic. So, I mean, the way I look at it, for my bait specifically, I put scent in it. Just what's it going to hurt? It's a couple drops of scent. Doesn't matter.
yeah.
It's cheap enough too. I mean, I can probably with one bottle of scent, which is like I think it's a 2 ounce or a 4 ounce bottle, I can do well over 100 bags of plastics. So
Yeah.
it's nothing for me to just in case that scent does play a factor in a specific day tournament fishing or something. Why not? It's not going to hurt anything.
Right.
So
No, and I'm really curious about that Berkeley Lab stuff too, but for $15 for 8 frickin' flatworms, I'm gonna wait until they don't sell and they're in the bargain bin at Fleet Farm before I get any.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I was just talking with a buddy about this the other day. I said, how many baits are like, the fad baits? You've got your koi keys, and whether or not that's a fad thing, I mean, who knows? And they work. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
how long is it going to last? I thought about buying a mold for it and try to sell some, but I started looking into it. It's $500 for a mold. It's going to be the most
Holy
expensive mold I've
crap.
ever bought, and I kind of looked at the wife and I'm like, yeah, no, I can't do that. And she's like, good thing you're not doing that.
Well, I tell you what, Dan, I was one of the morons at the classic that stood in line for 2 hours to get one of them stupid Koike balls. My first time throwing it out on Miller, the rod I had it tied on was the first leader knot I tied for the year. I got 3 casts in and I tied my leader knot wrong, and that thing sailed off into the sunset, never to be seen again.
That hurts because the Koike specifically, is it Spro that makes those? I can't remember.
They're importing them. The actual company is called Full Cast. It
Okay.
sounds like they were just a little mom and pop thing over in Japan, but now Spro, I think, is backing them to up production significantly the way these things are flying off the shelves.
Okay. Because I was looking the other day and I I saw Shields had them, and it said Spro Koike, so I was just curious. I didn't do too much research on them, and I'll probably not buy one. As tempting as it is, I'm gonna want to, but I for
I
what how I
so
would
I
fish it, it's no different than a Senko or a stickworm for me.
I totally hate to say it on here because I don't think a lot of guys have caught on to it yet. Now, don't get me wrong, that Quakey ball was freaking cool, but Hags makes basically a knockoff. The
Yeah,
Hags is nicer. I hate to say it, and they're a third the price. I paid $22 for that stupid Quakey ball. I pay like $7 a piece for the Hags ones, and they got better colors.
yeah. And I was looking at it, and I'm sitting there comparing them, and I'm like, I didn't know. And like I said, I want to buy a mold because I want to make my own. I've gotten to the point where if I'm going to buy a bait, it's got to be something that's real damn extravagant that I can't do, or I'll just buy the mold for it and make it myself. Because
Yeah.
I think I've got 15 molds now between ice fishing molds, uh, ribbon tail, swim bait. Uh, God, I don't know. I've got so many of them that flipping baits. I've got so many that I use, make all my own stuff, and they're not that expensive. I mean, once you get past the injector, I personally like Angling AI of getting molds from them. I believe the guy that runs it used to be. I think he went to school for thermodynamics and everything like
Oh,
that.
okay.
So his molds are really really good at dispersing heat. So you can make multiple baits in a row without having to like let the mold cool down. You can you
Oh.
can shoot 9 or 10 times and just have the mold. It's still hot. You have to wear gloves and everything, but if you can shoot that many times in a row, that's really impressive to me because some molds you just can't do that. When they get to be too hot, the baits don't solidify, and you have to wait for them to cool down inside. They're kind of like
Oh.
a real soft jello, and if you touch it and if you squeeze it, it'll actually burst through, and you'll have hot plastic on your hands, and you'll end up burning yourself. It's it hurts. I'll say that.
And I suppose you can't do like an ice water bath or anything with them molds because of the thermal shock. Do you run a risk of cracking the mold or something or
You know, I've
warping
never
it?
I've never really done it, but it could be a possibility that you could do it. But I think if you just what I do is I just leave them sit open. When I
Oh,
take the baits out, I'll let it sit open and kind of let the air cool it down enough. And when I'm setting the baits out to cure for, I think they recommend 24 to 48 hours. I'll kind of just start setting them out so that way they cure in what position I want them to be, and then I'll put the mold back together, give it enough time to cool down, and just keep shooting them like that. But a lot of it has to do with the temperature of the plastic and the temperature of the mold for it to turn out correctly. And obviously, your air bubbles too are a big thing. I don't know if you've ever bought a pack of baits somewhere and gotten say a stick worm or a Ned bait that happens to have like an air bubble in the middle that went unseen by quality control or something. Uh, that can be pretty common if you're not doing it correctly.
okay. Yeah, you do see that once in a while.
Yeah, it's not too common because they have pretty good quality control through most of the bait making companies, but you do get one every once in a while though. And I'll be honest, if it's in a net and if it's on the back end, I think Yum actually maybe makes something like that. I can't remember who makes it, but they have like an actual air bubble on the end of a net that it'll make the tail end of it stand up better.
Yep.
I,
Big Bite Baits makes a shaky head worm that's the same thing. The little bulb on the end of the tail is full of air to keep that standing up too.
okay. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many things that you can do with a bait, and I mean, Rabid Baits puts hair in the end. Those
Yep.
are pretty cool. I've never used them, but they're pretty cool. Strike King, the tumbleweed, they've got the silicone through the ball instead of
Yep.
having like the koi key. You can do so many different things, and they work. You can have just a plain bait. You don't have to do anything special with it. You can literally pour it, let it cure for 24, 48 hours, go out and use it and catch a fish. It's just insane at how easy it is to catch a fish on these baits. And it's so fascinating that, like I said, you're like an artist and a chef at the same time of making these things, adding these ingredients together, making this bait, and then being able to go out and catch a fish the next day on it. It's an
It,
incredible feeling. You self accomplishment, the feeling you get from that of being able to go out catch a fish. You're like, I made that. That's pretty cool.
yep.
And that's how I got started with the musky baits. I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, I'm not going to spend $20 on a bait just to have it get snagged on something I can't get it back. And so I started making my own, and I think I paid at the time $300 for all the materials to make it. And I was just like, man, I might as well have just bought baits. Who knows if these are even going to turn out? And I think I made it ended up being where the price for the bait was like a quarter of the cost of what you could buy them at Fleet Farm or something. So that, I mean, big cost savings right there for me. I was like, yeah, I'm going to keep doing this. Well, now I have over 50 different colored bucktails in my bin, and I've got, God, I don't know how many different lures of that I've bought over the years, and it's just like, well, I don't throw that. I don't throw that. I don't have confidence in any of these, but I've got confidence in my bucktails. I'm just going to go out and use them.
That's actually one of my when it's a really tough jig bite and stuff on docks, I've got a little corner of my jig box stashed away where I actually tie hybrid skipping jigs with bucktail mixed with the silicone skirt. And
Okay.
it feels amazing when you catch one on something like that, especially because that's not something you see people really doing. You kind of feel like you got something. It's a fairly obvious thing, but you feel like you got something in your pocket with it.
Yeah. Just being able to say that you caught something on a bait you made, I mean, impresses people too. It's not easy. You have to put in the time and effort to have confidence in this, and to go out and do it it's hard. I mean, when I first started making baits, I didn't use the baits I made because I didn't feel confident. And I hate to say it, but I went out fishing and we were just putting a beat down on the bass the one day. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna try one of my stick baits that I made. So I throw out one of the stick baits, instantly get hit. I'm like, oh, so they do work. Okay. So ever since then, like it's a confidence builder for me. Like I know Gary Yamamoto's make phenomenal worms, and I've tried to not necessarily duplicate, but get close as far as a sink rate and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I've I've really tried to perfect it, and I think I've gotten really good with it. That even my buddies are like, "Hey, can you make me some of these?" Yeah, sure. Why not? Try them. If you guys like them, there's always more. I can always make more, and make sure to tell your friends about it. Send them my way. I can make a ton of them.
Well,
It helps
and
helps
that
recoup the cost of the molds.
right, and I think that's the special thing. Like with the stick baits, there's a significant difference between a yum dinger and a Cinco, but they both have their freaking place. There are times where that yum dinger will outfish a Cinco 10-1. So like you said, the coming close, but that little bit of difference a lot of times can be the key, because how many assholes are going down the bank throwing the same freaking Cinco, and yours has got just a little bit different of a flutter to it, and boom, that's the thing for the day.
Yep. I mean, you look at how many different types of stick baits are out there too, and you've got. I mean, I can think just off the top of my head. There's 4 or 5 different styles, and
Yep.
it it's amazing that one style of bait like a stick worm can have so many different variations and specific times to be used.
Yep.
It's insane to me. Like there's some that look like I can't remember who makes it, but it looks like a night crawler coming off both ends. It's like thicker on the outside. I think Dudley's
Yep.
had something like that. Uh, I can't remember. There was another company too, but there's just so many different styles, designs of one specific bait type, and they all catch fish. I mean, it's just
Yep.
it's what the fish prefer.
Right. Yeah. No, it is a very interesting thing and a very easy rabbit hole to drop down because I am one of those people that you can think of 5 different kinds of Cinco, and I probably carry all 5 in my boat, and I'll cycle through them throughout the day when something ain't going right,
Yep.
which makes it really easy to spin out and miss stuff. But
Yeah, I know I've got way too many plastics in my boat, but it never hurts to have whatever you got in there. I mean, I'll since I make my own stuff, I've got pretty much one of every color that you could possibly think of that you would want to throw, and I keep a very, very small amount of baits that I've bought in the last 5 years in the boat too, because I'll go through my stuff. I have so much confidence in my baits to be able to throw those, and if they're not biting on those, okay, now I got to start really scrapping around trying to figure out what's going to get them to bite. I
yeah,
I can't tell you. I want to say last year, I don't know if I even touched a different style bait other than what I make, and had pretty good success on it. I know the Tiger Cat tournament that we had, that one was that was all really that was a fun one. Cody, my partner, was watching. He's just like, man, you were doing something I never thought I'd ever see anybody doing. You're putting baits where they don't belong, and you're catching fish. I'm like, oh, this is what I was doing in practice, and this is what was working. And I watched the weather for that whole week because I felt pretty confident. And my buddy Sam was like, "So what do you think is going to win?" And I'm like, "I think I'll have 15 pounds." And he looked at me. He was kind of confused. And, yeah, I think I have a genuine shot at maybe winning this one. And I felt confident going in that the weather was going to be the exact same as I had in practice, and everything worked out flawlessly.
yeah,
That's when I started putting, kind of 2 and 2 together, that you watch the weather and see what it's going to be like that day. And if you're catching them at a certain location, okay, where are they going to move from where they're at to what that weather's going to be? And it's worked out in some aspects. Sometimes it doesn't. Not to say I'm a professional angler by any means, but it's when you start putting 2 and 2 together and you start figuring some stuff out, you feel pretty confident in yourself then.
Well, and you gotta love them days too, because I'm every once in a while you get that magical day where no matter what you do, you cannot do anything wrong. Everything just falls right in line like it's meant to be, and
Yep.
that is the greatest feeling in the world.
Yeah, I think that day for the Tiger Cat tournament, I don't think I even lost a fish. Or if I did, it wasn't even worth it. Like I know I did lose one that was probably a 2 or 2.5 pounder that at the time would have helped me. And Cody looked at me and he's like, "Ooh," and I'm like, there'll be more. Just I had to have that mentality, like, whatever. Next cast mentality. You can't dwell on it. You got to just
Yeah.
nose down, keep going.
The worst is when you think you're having one of them days and you show up for the weigh-in and then you get beat by an ounce or two. I've had a few days like that too. That's the ultimate kick to the balls. But
Yeah, I've
unfortunately,
definitely
it's
been a
got to
part of
go
that
both
too.
ways.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, I've had my days where I can't even buy a bite, or it seems like everything you're doing is exactly wrong or equipment malfunction or anything like that. And it just seems like no matter what you do, you can't buy a bite, you can't do anything right. And you just got to chalk it up to, well, it just wasn't my day. We'll get them
Yeah.
next time.
I just had one of them. I went down or over by Sturgeon Bay with Dad last weekend. Freaking been looking forward to it for months. I mean, last year in 3 days, we caught 300 smallmouth. We each had one over 6 pounds. Literally one of the greatest fishing trips I've had in my life. So we roll up to Sturgeon Bay, and I'm thinking, like, oh God, here we go again. I sat on that water for 10, 11 hours, had boat troubles right away in the morning, pissed me off right away, and ruined my whole day. I never caught a fish.
Yeah, I mean, I've had those days. I just went fishing this past weekend, and it's been so long. I mean, had a baby last June, and I did a lot of fishing last year, but I've only been out twice in the boat this year, which is uncommon for me. I think at this time of the year, I've usually been in the boat at least half a dozen times. It, pretty much every weekend from ice out to now, I'd be in the boat, whether it's walleye fishing or go up north and do some pre-spawn bass or anything like that. This year, it's just been I've been too busy. I did a lot of turkey hunting in the last 2 to 3 weeks, so been busy with that. And I finally am like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go fishing. We're gonna do it. It's opening weekend. I can't miss opening weekend. So we go out, and I couldn't cast where I wanted to save my life. So many trees were caught that day. I
Yep.
can catch the hell out of an oak. I can tell you that. It's just crazy. But I'm hoping it changes. I'm hoping something switches because I can't fish like that the rest of the year.
Yeah. Oh, I feel you after my Koiki ball debacle. I literally tied that knot 10,000 times last year. By the end of last summer, I could freaking tie it in 2 seconds in my sleep with both hands behind my back. The first time I do it, I screw it up so phenomenal you can't even cast the damn thing. It's crazy living in Wisconsin how much we lose over the freaking winter. And you got to,
Yeah.
the first month of the season is playing catch back, trying to get all that back.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, we tried to skip some docks, and you would have thought that it was the first time I picked up a rod. It was borderline embarrassing. It was so bad.
The nice
And
thing is this early, luckily all the pontoons aren't in because normally if they're in the first time you're out skipping docks, it ends up being musical pontoons for the whole first day. But
yeah, and to add insult to injury too, we're fishing a dock on a point, and my buddy catches a 5 pound, just shy of 5 pounds, on, on a dock that I had already casted at about 3 or 4 times, and he got it perfect. And I'm like, son of a bitch. But you'll have that. I mean, you got to have those days to keep you humble. You can't go through life thinking you're top dog on anything. There's always somebody chasing you. There's always something.
yeah, no, I've said it for years. I my favorite guys to fish against are the ones who know everything about fishing because I got a bridge to sell you, buddy.
Yep. Yeah, I always try to stay humble because
Yeah,
nobody knows everything. Like I said, 99.9% of the time, you should, when you think you have it right, you're wrong. It's
yeah,
when you are dead set that this is what's going on, you're wrong. I've been wrong more often than I'd care to even admit. Ask my
yeah,
wife, and I'm sure she'd tell you that I'm wrong more often than I'm right.
yeah. Mine too would say the same thing.
I mean, she's not wrong, and she's spot on.
Yeah. Well, and that's too what I love, regardless of people's opinions one way or another with forward facing. I have learned more crap in the last 3 years and disproven so many things we took as gospel. I wouldn't trade that experience for the freaking world.
Yeah, I mean, forward facing with as much controversy as it's had in the last 2 to 3 years. I mean, you've got guys that swear by it, you got guys that hate it. I'm indifferent. I mean, I used to when it first came out, when Panoptics came out and people were using it for ice fishing. Oh man, I'll be honest. I thought you were cheating, especially ice fishing. I mean, for guys
Yep.
to just go out and, I mean, you find the fish, drop down, you're catching them. And it's not as simple as that. I mean, I have it now, and dropping down and just catching a fish that you see does not happen.
No.
That's there's so much more. Like, yeah, you could find the fish easier. I'll give you that. You can find fish so much faster. Ice fishing with that, so many less holes you have to drill, and even open water. I can't tell you how many times I've found fish that I never would have known were even there. And
Yep.
that's where, the uneducated portion, I mean, I'm totally uneducated on where those fish are going to be. And they're sometimes just, they pick random spots. I don't understand
Yep.
why. And especially if they're like in a basin, most of the time it's just forage. Why is that forage there? No clue, because the wind happened to blow that way. I mean, that's typically what it is if they're out in a basin. But
Right.
forward facing has just made it so much easier now to be able to find some of these fish, and just doesn't mean you're going to get them to bite, but you can find them. That's
Yes, and I would say it's more of a tool of efficiency than anything. I'll be honest. I'll scan structure a lot of times, and if I don't see something, I might just move on or just make one or two casts. But no, hey, nothing came out. Let's keep moving. The efficiency and the knowledge, I think, are what make it so important.
being able to utilize it is the biggest key to really any piece of equipment. But
Yep.
forward facing is not any different. You have to know when to hold them. You have to know when to fold them. You got to roll with the dice and take it when you can. If you find fish, great. If you cast at them and they just don't want to eat, you got to move on. You can't force feed a fish even with forward facing sonar.
Right. And that's the learning curve. And I do wonder how many people that hate it is for the fact that it looks easy on TV or on a YouTube video when you're seeing the highlight reel, but when you got to actually go out and do it, I mean, I won't lie, the first couple times I felt like an idiot. You see all these floating fish and I'm bouncing jigs off their head. Why the hell ain't they biting it like they do on Bassmasters? You feel like a moron.
Yep.
But
Yeah, and that's exactly right. I mean, you can do everything that you see. I mean, you watch these YouTube videos, you might as well be watching Sports Center, because that's all it is. It's a highlight reel of people
yeah,
catching fish. They don't show you the ones that come up, look at the bait, and swim away. I
yep,
mean, that's why you only see maybe 6, 7, 8 fish caught at a time, because your opportunities to catch these fish all the time, 100% catch rate of seeing them on the forward facing and getting them has got to be like close to 0%.
yeah. And a lot of things you hear too, and I will say it makes crappie fishing easier, but there are times a year I can't buy a bite with freaking live scope on crappies. Don't know what it is, can throw everything I got in the boat at them, but then I'll have a day where I can limit out in 5 freaking minutes,
Yeah,
so even that, it's not a given.
yeah, and it's insane that how, and that's there's so many variables. You got your water temperature, your photo period, aka sunlight. You've got
Yeah.
barometric pressure. There's so many different factors that go into why a fish will bite or why they won't bite. And I mean, nobody can predict it. You can walk outside and, yeah, it feels like a fishy day. Go fishing and you don't catch anything. I mean, I still have yet to figure it out. I mean, I still walk outside. Oh yeah, it's gonna be perfect for fishing. Go out, don't catch a damn thing. I mean,
Yep.
those days are kind of few and far between because I managed to somehow catch, whether it's a rock bass or something to at least make the day worth it. But I mean,
Right.
it's something.
And then how
But
often do you have a day where you wake up in the morning and are just like, oh, today is going to be utter dog shit? Go out and just frickin', load it to the cork all frickin' day and drag them in left and right.
yeah, there's definitely been days like that where I walk out. Oh, it's raining. I really don't want to go fishing. And then I have to tell myself, well, fish are already wet. I'm just going to be wet then. Who cares? And go out and you just absolutely slaughter them. It's insane. And you look back at you try to write down everything you can of, okay, so water temperature, time of day, uh, barometric pressure. You try to put all these things together, and so you can go back out the next time. And if it doesn't work, then you have kind of a baseline. But
Yeah.
it's I don't know. Fish are fish. You're never going to change them, and they're going to do what they want. You can't do anything about it.
Right. Well, alrighty, Dan. It's getting a little late here. I will let you go, buddy. But I do greatly appreciate you coming on and talking and educating a lot of us out here on all the stuff going on in Wisconsin. And I would definitely, anytime you got something you want to talk about, I'd love to have you back on. You make a pretty good guest.
Sounds good. Happy to be here. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, I've always had a passion for fishing, and anything to help the fish, even if it's educating people, like just talking about it, whether or not I'm fully right on everything. I mean, I did some research just to make sure that I wasn't throwing out stuff that's not factual, but I did anything that I can do to help the fish overall in any way. I'm more than happy to do it.
Yep. No, good deal. You did your civil service for the week, and we greatly appreciate it.
Not a problem. I appreciate you having me on. It's been fun.
Sounds good. Well, we'll talk to you. Oh, are you still not able to make it to Tiger Cat, or did you con your way into it?
Unfortunately, I'm gonna miss that one very, very regrettably. But if there was a way I could make that work, I would. But my sister's graduation is that day, so I'll be
Okay.
I'll be attending that. I made a joke. I said, "Do you guys got a live stream for it?" They didn't take that too greatly, but
I'm
I got
sure
a good
not.
laugh out of it.
Well, hopefully we'll see you at the next one then, buddy.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, we'll talk to you later, man. Have a good night.
Sounds good. You too. Thanks.
Yep. All righty. Thanks everybody again for watching. Greatly appreciate everybody taking the time and watching, listening. Hopefully we all learned something from this. I guess for the final cast tonight, we'll kind of go back on something we've been talking about and hinting at all night. Personal responsibility. You know, you can't rely on the government to regulate everything away. Sometimes you got to look in the mirror and say, how much of this is my job to be making sure the right thing is being done. So personal responsibility. Thank you for watching the Timberline Bass Podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, comment, all that normal stuff. Thank you very much for your support.